We're live. So, we want to come on here, and first we want to thank you guys for all the prayers. Chris feels a lot better now. So yesterday I put a call to prayer, prayer request for Chris, and which is funny. This is something that a lot of people don't know about me, but asking for prayer requests is very awkward for me. I honestly don't know why, but it's out of my comfort zone to ask for prayer. So God put it on my heart to ask for prayer for my friend, which is out of my comfort zone. So I did it out of obedience, even though it's uncomfortable for me. That might sound silly to some people, but that's a thing for me. So my simple act of obedience and getting out of my comfort zone, as a result, my friend, which will be my brother in Christ, now feels better. So we want to thank you for all the prayers, because he's feeling a lot better. He was feeling terrible the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I guess, Chris, tell him how he's feeling and how you felt when you woke up this morning.
Like you just said, I was feeling terrible, and then I saw that post last night, which surprised me, and I was really tired. I went to bed right away. I kind of read through the comments, saw the prayers, but I went to sleep, woke up this morning, and I feel like 95% better. I mean, a lot better. So I think that the prayers worked, and I want to thank each and every one of you for all your prayers. And
So we just wanted to touch on that. We wanted to say thank you for the prayer, and also I wanted to show you, that getting out of your comfort zone, what the results can be, because this might not always be for you. It could be for a friend. So thank you for the prayers. Prayers work. Another thing is I want to talk to you guys a little about something called grace. Grace. I have a fun story about grace, and about God's sense of humor, and about God's timing. So I'm going to give you a little small backdrop story so it can kind of put things into perspective on what I'm going to touch on. Yesterday, I was welcomed to an open house for somebody that had graduated, and it was a friend of mine. So this friend of mine disclaimer, I'm not going to tell this part to shame anybody or bring up the past or anything. This is just the story, and this is how it went. So that's not my intentions whatsoever. My friend is the ex-wife of the guy that my ex-wife ran off with. So we became friends when we discovered our spouses were having an affair together, and that's how we became friends. That's how God orchestrates things sometimes. So anyway, she invited me out to the open house for the graduating senior, and I go in, I see her, I go to the backyard, and she comes up to me. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" We start talking and whatnot, and she's like, "Sorry if I, if you're blindsided." I'm kind of confused, what do you mean? And she's like, so-and-so's here, so-and-so, my ex-wife, and I had no idea. I mean, I didn't even recognize her, and it didn't bother me at all or anything. I was like, at first I said, "Why, is she coming?" And she said, "Well, she's right there." And it was crazy because I didn't recognize her. So anyways, to put it in perspective, somebody that is the definition of grace and embodies grace is my friend. Here she is. She has her ex-husband's, former mistress at her house that, participated in breaking up her family and marriage, and here she has her welcomed at her house and shown her, being hospitable to her, and that's just the epitome of grace. That's grace. It's undeserved forgiveness and mercy, and you know what I mean, putting it all aside. That's graceful. So I didn't think much of it. It caught me off guard. It's the first time I've seen them you know, in a setting, you know, in years. And it's funny how God's timing is, how I'm healed and I'm past and matured. It's just a faint memory, and that's when God lets me cross paths. So that's funny how God's timing, and He matured me to be able to handle it, and that's when He orchestrated it, you know.
Right.
So anyway, I'm sitting there, you know, eat and hang out or whatever, and at the very end, my friend comes up to me and said, "Are you going to talk to him or anything?" I was like, "Well, I don't have anything to say to him. There's no reason to talk to him. I'm not bitter or anything, but I mean, I don't want to go be best friends with him, you know." And then it hit me at the very end. God has a sense of humor. So it hit me. I said, I actually do have something to say to him. So backstory is, they have a kid together that was conceived while we were still married. You see what I'm saying? And it was hidden. And he was 9 months old when when I found out about the affair, and then had DNA tests and knew that he didn't belong to me, didn't have my DNA. So not only that, the little boy is there, you know, "Hey Jared, you know," and it hit me. I was like, well, he still has my last name.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on the birth certificate and everything. So I'm like, and I used to always say, like, I'm not going to go out of my way to offer and have his name changed and all that stuff. I'm not going to seek them out and do that. That's what they want to do. They can approach me or whatever. And when I was still angry about it, I was like, they're going to have to pay me. I'm just going to extort them in my anger and my haste and my bitterness and all that stuff.
That's the devil,
Yeah. So when God finally matured me enough and healed me past it, is when I finally, you know, crossed their paths. And I wasn't even thinking about it first, and then it hit me. I asked my friend before I approached him, I said, "Does he still have my last name?" And she's like, "Yeah, I believe so." So I went over and said, "Hey, can I talk to you guys for a minute?" And it was awkward. It was super awkward. Even for me, and I don't get awkward.
Right. And
it was super awkward. You could cut it with a knife. It was awkward.
Yeah, I bet.
So they're kind of looking at me like, I'm beginning to wonder what he has to say. And I said, "Hey, you know, is his name, does he still have my last name?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Well," I think, you know, I think it would probably be better if you guys are married, it's your kid, they're now married, I said, it's your kid, you guys are married, and to save him some confusion and stuff later on down the road, and for you guys and everything, I think it would be best to, you know, let you change his name. I said, now I don't know how that looks or works, but obviously I'm on the birth certificate and everything, so I'm probably going to have to sign and do everything. I just want you guys to know that if you get the ball in motion, I'm game, I'm for it, it's okay. And I think it's best. I think it's best for him. I think it's best for you guys. Now think about it, you know, the two people that caused me the most pain I've ever went through in my life, and the most gut-wrenching incident in my entire life, I'm approaching them, telling them this is what's best, not only for the kid, but for you guys. See, forgiveness, it says, God says, to be forgiven, you must forgive. And grace is undeserving, unmerited favor and undeserved forgiveness. You cannot earn it. It's unearned. So they did nothing to earn my forgiveness. They did nothing to earn for me to go and approach them and say, let me offer this act of kindness to you to better your life and the kid's life. That's how much God has radically changed me from wanting to kill him,
right,
to going over and going out of my way. And the funny thing is, I used to always say, like, they're going to have to tell me, they're going to have to tell me. God's like, ha ha ha, aren't you funny? You know, like, aren't you hilarious? So they're going to have to pay, you know, you're going to be at a graduation party one day, and I'm going to put it on your heart, and you're going to go over there and awkwardly approach them and offer it to them because it's best for them and their kid.
Right.
Because I've called you to be like me. And I'm like, ooh. And here's the
challenge.
It is challenging. And here's the funny thing is, I used to pray on a regular basis, you know, crucify my flesh, rid me of me, and fill me up with you. And I stopped praying that for a while and prayed for other things, and I prayed for it recently, I think that day or the day before. and he still answered prayers. Chris feels better, and I asked him to make me more like him. Now, the funny thing is, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. You might be in a super awkward situation. You see? But, my friend is the epitome of graceful. Like, I mean, she's just a grace rock star, if there is one. So that's the backstory.
So what do you mean by grace? Can you
Grace is
tell me a little bit about that?
Of God, be called according to God's purpose, by His Spirit working in due season, through grace obey the calling. They be justified freely. They be made sons of God by adoption. They be made like the image of His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. They walk religiously. So, well, I mean, the old cliche, what would Jesus do? I mean, I didn't earn His grace, and if it's freely given to me, I gotta freely give it away. So, if everybody would just spend more time being gracious with people, loving, kind, and selfless, and promote peace and love and unity, we would make, the world would be so much better. And it says to not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And the mind is the way you think. And you're supposed to be Christ-minded. And if in the patterns of this world, lewdness, drunkenness, violence, slander, anger, hatred, malice, all these patterns of the world, and all these people are conformed to it. I mean, you see it everywhere.
Right.
I don't even have to. You see it everywhere you look.
Turn on the TV.
Turn on the TV. Go through your feeds. Go downtown. You're going to see it everywhere. Could you imagine if we all spent more time extending grace and love and mercy and praying for those who persecute us, praying and loving our enemies, praying for our enemies and loving our enemies? He said, it's, man says, I hate your enemy. I say, love your enemy. Okay? So like even Paul the Apostle used to have Christians murdered. He went on to write the majority of the New Testament.
Right.
So,
it's crazy.
It is. It's insane. If it's odd, it's God. What are you guys' thoughts on, or what is your thoughts on it?
Well, I know I didn't deserve the grace that I got, so
none of us.
I don't think I'm qualified for half of the blessings that I've gotten, and it's hard for me to accept blessings sometimes because I'm like, what did I do to earn this? I don't deserve this. I don't earn this, and it's handed to me. So I have a hard time receiving gifts or blessings or being healed by your prayers. It's really mind blowing. So.
We're saved by grace through faith, and faith comes by hearing.
Yeah.
When they spat on him and they beat him and they by his stripes and they whipped him, they beat him, they mocked him, and they hung him from a tree.
And he didn't deserve nothing. He
didn't deserve any of it, but he did it. He freely gave it away.
Right.
And when we're called to be like him, well, what was he like? That's what he was like. So. And then it goes back to, be slow to anger, quick to listen, like turn the other cheek, love your enemy. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's naked, clothe him. Like, love is always the answer. Love's always the answer. Look in Corinthians, I think it is, about the definition of love. Doesn't envy, boast, hold records of wrong, endures all. Love is not a feeling. It's an action. It's a choice. It's a verb. And
yeah. So it's an action, it's a verb.
All right. I don't know. Is there anything you want to touch on, or? Well, there it goes.
I think that love can cure hatred. So, like if you're in an argument with somebody, and of course they say something, and you retaliate back, then it only escalates the situation, and then you end up in a fist fight or something like that. Instead of retaliating, you say, all right, I'm sorry you feel that way, or I love you, man, whatever, and then usually the person will back down or walk away, and they feel like they've won when really you're the one that won. in my opinion.
And it also talks about not arguing with fools. If you argue with
Right.
a fool, you
Yeah.
are now the fool.
Waste of time and energy. I used to do that all the time, especially with politics and things like that. And you can't argue with a fool. You can't change your mind. It's irrational.
It makes you the fool. You now
Yeah.
become the fool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't force people to think your way.
No. You can't. And the best thing to do if you want to see change, it's so easy, it's so simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Start with the person in the mirror. Be the change you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
You want change, be the change. It starts a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
Simple acts of kindness, smiling at somebody, paying somebody a compliment, be loving, being caring, service, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be these monumental leaps and these big things, huge acts. It's in the details. The little things
Mm-hmm.
add up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for instance, like this whole house, this whole building, what holds together? All the nails and all the screws. The little things is what holds it together.
Right. The glue, the mortar. You know.
All right. I think that's.
What's
Oh.
holding us together right now? What's the mortar and the glue that we're using today? Prayer.
We're prayer and walking by faith.
That's right, faith. You want to talk about faith?
Faith is key, man. When you set out to walk by faith, you got to cling to faith. Believe in things you can't see. And I want you to be mindful of your thoughts and your words because they become things. Your thoughts and your words become things.
I believe that.
There's no partiality. If you want to think and speak death and all that stuff, that's what you're gonna. That's what you're gonna reap.
Mm-hmm.
Reaping and a sowing. Just be very mindful of your words. There's spirits attached to your words.
Absolutely.
Speak life. The power of life and death is in your tongue. And it all goes back to how you think is how you talk.
I mean, God created the universe with His Word.
With His words.
Right?
He spoke it right into existence.
Right.
It's like, keep it simple, stupid. People don't understand how really simple it is. That's why they overcomplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to do. You have to renew your mind. It is repetition, but it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Impossible.
possible. So anyways, I can't help it. I have to say
With
it.
Him, all things are possible.
With Him, all things are possible. Anyways, a recap. Grace. People don't deserve your grace. Give it to them anyway, because I'm telling you right now, you don't deserve God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
And He still hung from a tree,
Mm-hmm.
and they still whipped Him, they still killed Him for you. And His grace is sufficient for you, and you got to extend. Even in His prayer, it says, "Forgive us as we have forgiven those who trespass against us." That is past tense. That's it. Grace, love, prayer works. Grace, love is the answer.
Is the answer. Have a great day. God bless.